days of his flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications,
loud cries and tears,
and he was heard.
We gather to offer ourselves to give thanks at this hour.
Lord, hear our prayer.
The first station, Jesus is condemned to death. As soon as it was morning, the chief priest with the elders and scribes and the whole council held a consultation. And they bound Jesus and led him away and delivered him to Pilate. And they all condemned him and said, "He deserves to die." When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judgment seat at a place called the Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. And then he handed Jesus over to them to be crucified. They were all there that day, the ones whose lives Jesus had touched, the ones that he had healed, the ones whose sins he had taken away. They were all there. They had come to the temple to pray, to worship, to celebrate the Passover. But as the news spread that Jesus had been condemned to death, they went to be with him, to walk alongside of him, to get as close as possible. So great was their grief and their pain, so filled with sorrow. They had to be there, had to see if there was some way, some means of offering him comfort now, in the hour of his need.
Second station. Jesus is made to bear his cross. Jesus went out bearing his own cross to the hill called the place of the skull, which in Hebrew is Golgotha. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. Like a lamb, he was led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before his shearers is mute, so he opened not his mouth. Worthy is the Lamb to be slain, to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Sustainability. I am Lazarus. I couldn't be there that day. I didn't have the strength to go to Jerusalem. The sickness that laid me in the grave left me weak and unable to travel. But I understand, as no one else does, the message he came to preach. The message of care for the earth, care for all, the sick, the wounded, the hurting in body, mind, and spirit. As he lifted his cross that day, he lifted us all up to God together. He carried us all on his back that day, bringing us to the place where we could carry one another. I know that Jesus will rise again on the third day, as the prophets foretold. His whole journey, Jesus, my brother, my friend, his whole journey has brought him to this day.
Crucified in Galilee.
The fourth station, Jesus meets his afflicted mother. To what can I liken you? To what can I compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What likeness can I use to comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? For vast as the sea is your ruin. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. The Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning shall be ended. Discernment. I am Mary. I can remember carrying him when he was little. He was such a beautiful child. And now he was weighed down by the burden of a cross. It's used for common criminals. One who gave his life and gave life to everyone he met. How I wish we were back home now, safe. But I know, even in the midst of this tragic moment, that God's plan is being fulfilled. No matter how terrible this moment is for him, for me, God is here. And all I can do now is follow him wherever this journey takes him and pray. God is with you, dear son. God is with us.
Fifth station. The cross is laid on Simon of Cyrene. As they led Jesus away, they came upon a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, who was coming in from the country, and laid on him the cross to carry it behind Jesus. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Hospitality. I am Simon. I didn't want to help him. I was so scared. There were soldiers everywhere, people shouting and jeering. Everywhere there was confusion and crowds. I had come to the town for the Passover celebration. We were there to have fun. Passover is the highlight of the year, but here I was, in the middle of this angry, hateful crowd. And there he was. I had only heard about him from others. I guess I was curious, questioning, wondering, but now he was right in front of me, crushed under the weight of the cross. I tried to back up into the crowd, but the guard standing near me drew his sword, and he pointed at my chest. "You," he shouted, "you, pick it up." Jesus was flat on the ground, his face covered in blood. He was laying in the dust and the dirt. I had to get down there with him to lift the cross up and away from his broken body. As I lifted it, he looked into my eyes, and it felt like the whole world stood still. I can't even explain to you all that was in his eyes. But most of all, it was love that I saw. No judgment, anger, retribution, none of it. What was there was love. My life was changed at that moment.
The 8th station. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. There followed after Jesus a great multitude of the people, and among them were the women, who bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus, turning to them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. Connectivity. I was in that group, one of the women of the city. We had followed Jesus throughout his ministry, the throng of women who were often in the background, but always present. He would always come and speak to us. He would ask about our families. How were our children? Were we well? He would thank us for the meal prepared and shared. He told us, the women, that we too were responsible for the care of the world. That it was up to us, to help make this world a better, more loving place. When he looked into our eyes, each one of us felt valued, important, and worthwhile. We could make this world better. Nothing in my life would be the same from that moment on.
11th station, Jesus is nailed to the cross. When they came to the place which is called the Skull, there they crucified him. And with him they crucified two criminals, one on the right, the other on the left, and Jesus between them. And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, he was numbered with the transgressors. Spaciousness. I'm a Roman centurion. I've been a Roman centurion all my life. Proud of my work. Proud of what I did to keep order and civility in the city. Been to many of these crucifixions. We need these executions to keep order among the people. How else are we going to control them? But this one was like none I'd ever seen before. He was crying forgiveness over us all. He was forgiving them, those hanging on his left and his right, thieves, guilty of their crimes. He was inviting them into heaven, offering to open the doors for them. He was forgiving us all. Now, I know little of the faith of these Hebrew people. I'm called to maintain order. But today he was breaking down all the barriers. Everyone welcomed into his kingdom. No one was excluded. My life was changed by the presence of this man, by his generous spirit and his forgiving nature. My life was changed at that moment.
12th station, Jesus dies on the cross. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing near, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And when Jesus had received the vinegar, he said, "It is finished." And then crying with a loud voice, he said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." And he bowed his head and handed over his spirit. Journey. Our lives were bought on the cross on that hill far away. Our lives were saved. Our bondage was broken. And nothing, no thing can ever hold us again. We are, St. Augustine said, knit to the cross of Christ. Your name, my name, our names were on his lips, spoken as he died that day, and the names of those yet to come. The power of two pieces of wood, crossed, nailed, and lifted up to the sky. The power of love. What matters today, what matters now, is that we accept that love, embrace it, and allow it to embrace us, to change us, leading us forward from this place, from this time, and from this day, changed. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?